Very special guest today, and I'm super stoked to actually talk to this guy. I actually wrote this down. I'm actually super stoked to talk to him as he looks up to the side. Do we lose your feed?
No, I'm
Oh,
good.
there we
I'm
go.
just I'm looking at the rain. Go ahead. I'm
Looking at
waiting.
the rain. We're snowy.
Introduce our show. Go for it.
Okay, thank you. He's a person you might not know by name. You obviously know him by reputation, especially for those of in Canada who had the Discovery Channel. Mimico native of Toronto, graduating from Mimico High School before embarking on a career in music education at Fanshawe College, eventually leading him to work at MuchMusic, a very prominent member and songwriter for the Toronto band New Regime. He's also worked with Canadian greats such as the Northern Pikes, Corey Hart, some band named Rush. I don't know if anyone's really heard of that band, but even Slash. He's kissed his presence a couple occasions. He's recorded albums as a solo artist as part of his band, soundtracks, and television shows, including, of course, his own. However, his love of Temagami canoes, as well as the okay, we're gonna escape that out. However, his love of Temagami canoes, as well as the hollow synth-pop movement of the 80s, turned his career in a completely opposite direction, becoming a hardcore survival expert, a guide for black feather wilderness adventures, and a person comfortable in solitude on snowshoes. See what I did there? He brought to the world some of the greatest one-man show projects on television, in the now infamous Survivorman. Dedicating his life to education in the wilderness, where he's not involved with music, his continued career includes having written, produced, and starred in over 100 survival-style episodes across various shows, including the incredible Wild Harvest, where he and Chef Paul Rogalski forage in natural environments and then produce culinary masterful dishes with those ingredients. Most recently, you're going to find him with the likes of Slash again, Billy Gibbons, on Slash's New Blues album, as well as his latest endeavor on Ancient's Call, streaming on all music platforms imminently, if that hasn't come out just yet. He's now met Slash more times than Corey here has been camping, bringing the survival to your living room again with Survivorman VR The Descent. Please give a huge welcome to the show, the Harmonica Hounder, Canada's chief scout, Survivorman himself, Les Stroud. Thank you
And
for
there we
coming.
go.
Here we are.
And I just want to backtrack on your interview, your introduction of me there, which was really comprehensive. Thank you.
Yeah, hey.
What was your line? Go back to your paper there and
Yeah,
take a look.
yeah.
What was your line about my love of the music in the 80s?
Oh, your love of Temagami and canoes, as
Yeah.
well as the hollow synth pop movement of the 80s, which is what turned you in the opposite
Right.
direction of music.
Right.
I'm assuming. Yeah.
That's why I wanted to ask you, because really, I would want you to add in his love of the Temagami and canoeing, of course, as well as his absolute hatred for the hollow synth pop
I was trying
of
to
the
be a little
80s.
I was trying to be a little democratic, but all
And
right. All right.
the amount of trouble that I get in for that is kind of funny because you know, my era was not the 80s. I was in my 20s in the 80s, so I was not like a 17-year-old in the 80s. So anybody who was like 17, 18 in the 80s hates it when I say that, but I loathed Thompson Twins, Spandau Ballet, oh gosh,
All of
Dead
them,
or
all of
Alive,
them.
all that
Classics.
crap. I hated that stuff so badly. And it was an era where if you were into rock guitar, you're a dinosaur. That's dinosaur music. Zeppelin,
Right.
who? Oh, forget them. They're old men now. And all that's what you heard. If you love the sound of a power chord, you were just like, forget it. You were a pariah in that era, even and as a musician. But I digress. I just wanted to interject on you there, guys. Good to meet
No.
you.
There you go.
And
You too,
I'm
buddy.
happy to chat with you. I see the Guns N' Roses t-shirt there on you. And so I'll stop taking over your show.
No.
There you
The
go.
whole idea is that you come and you
Yeah,
take
they want
over
to
the
hear more
show.
from you than us, but we do
Yeah.
have some questions we'll get into it.
Yeah.
And I'd like
I
to see
will.
I'd like to see Spandau Ballet sell out the Rogers Center. Not going to happen.
Yeah.
So all that being said, talking about the 80s, the 90s, tell us about your time at MuchMusic. What did you do there?
In short, I was an associate producer. So mostly that meant I sat at a desk writing down writing out a playlist for the videos that day. It would be Bruce Springsteen, born in the, it'd be Eurythmics, and Thompson Twins and Cyndi Lauper and Peter Gabriel, and just sitting there writing those out day after day after day. I had to write out all the videos, but then also producing little stints and stuff like that. I worked there in the era, and Canadians will know this, Americans won't, but Canadians will know this. It was there in the era of J.D. Roberts, Erica Maichowski, Erica
Mhm.
Yep.
Christopher Ward, Michael Williams, And then I was part of the committee that actually hired Denise Donlon, who went on to become Denise Donlon, who's massive in the Canadian music industry.
Yep.
And also hired Steve Anthony. I never met Steve Anthony, but I was part of the team that was there. I quit right around the time that we hired him. So that was my job. I was there doing that, and it's a much longer story, but yeah, it was fun times,
Very
different
cool.
times.
Yeah, but you
What was
also
Mike Williams like? I always liked him. He always seemed like a very even keeled dude, and he
Yeah,
just sort
Mike
of disappeared one day.
He did. Mike, I like Mike a lot. Mike was also not in any way a pariah, but he was definitely an outlier in that group. There was sort of everybody and then Mike. But Mike had a real true heartfelt dedication to the music. He was an artist himself, and so he was much more keen, whereas say JD was a DJ and Erica was a DJ. And Christopher Ward was a songwriter, and Michael was an artist. So he was really cool. I enjoyed my time with Michael a lot. He had a strange dark side, and he would show us. He would always vote for these videos that we'd be like, "Well, we can't show that." He's like, "No, we really should." And it'd be some really dark video that was produced. But really nice guy.
I knew there was a reason I liked him. There you go.
we've been trying to get Erica M on the podcast too. So let's
She's a sweetheart. Erica Mychevsky, I think is how you say her last name. And she fought against sort of the well the behind the scenes is that I think was she related maybe to Moses?
To Moses? I think so.
Yeah.
I thought so. Yeah.
Yeah, and so then she had to deal with that, but she was a sweetheart, and she ended up becoming really. I mean, we were very young then, and Erica was very young then. She became a super duper professional,
Yeah.
and I don't know what she's doing now, but I did see her years ago doing very well for herself. She was I think a diamond in the rough at that time. She's now a diamond, but at the time she was a little bit of a diamond in the rough, and she took a lot of flack for it because people like JD was older and he was just he was on the ball all the time. Hard to compete against JD Roberts. Now John Roberts of
Yeah.
Fox News,
John
right?
Roberts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was hard to compete against as far as savvy in that place.
Erica, like at least from my POV, I mean, she was like one of those people that was like our first, because MuchMusic was very new, and that whole EJ DJ thing was very new, and Erica was like almost the first heartthrob, right, of like Canada.
Yeah.
People.
Oh,
would
she was a cutie pie. Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, people would turn on MuchMusic to watch Erica M. Like aside
Oh,
from
it was
aside from the
believe me,
videos, right? So
it was a joy to go into work every day if I knew Erica.
Well, in
she's a very pretty
1987,
lady.
yeah,
in 1987, I was walking down Queen Street West, and she was on the street with a camera crew. I think it was in junior high at the time, and she just said, "Hey, would you introduce this next song for us? We're going to throw it to you and introduce the song." And the song was a brand new song by Guns N' Roses, "Sweet Child O' Mine." I'll never forget it.
Wow.
So that blocked my mind.
Emphasis on the O.
That was pretty cool, though. Yeah, I didn't know how to say it, right? No one did. It was brand new. So, anyways.
Like, oh, is it?
Onwards.
I don't know. So, I actually went to a camp called Canadian Adventure Camp, which is in Temagami, and probably around that same time that you were heading up there as well. So I've fallen in love with Temagami, and I think we were there for 4 years. So yeah, I spent 4 years as what a gorgeous place. So I can.
And I mean, when you touched on it earlier, when in that era of MuchMusic, and when rock is dead, and you weren't allowed to play a guitar solo. Thank God for Stevie Ray Vaughan. He was my salvation in that era. And Jeff Healey.
Yeah.
And also
absolutely.
locally, Wild Tea in the Spirit.
Wild Tea in the Spirit. Yep.
Yeah, some really great guitarists, but you had to like say that under your breath, because it's like in New Regime, I quit the band because oh God forbid I bring out my Gibson Les Paul. Kevin would freak out, like, no, where's your rinky dink funky little new modern guitar so you can go dee nee 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 nee. Like that was the extent of the solo on some of the New Regime songs.
Yeah.
And it was, I hated that. And Temagami was my salvation. When I turned away from music, Temagami is where I went. And it's it's the best kept secret still to this day. It's
for
still
sure
more beautiful than Algonquin Park without the people. So that's my
So maybe we're going to cut this out of the podcast because I don't want people to know about it.
exactly. It becomes that thing. It's like, when people would say, to me, oh, I don't really like to go up there. There's so many bugs. And I would respond, yeah, you're
Yeah, you're
right. So many
right.
bugs. You don't want to go up
Too
there.
many
Yeah,
No.
bugs.
stay away.
Too many bugs.
Were you
It's like,
involved in any of the Save Temagami protests back in the day?
I was in support of it, definitely, but actually, as of this very moment, I'm in meetings with Hap Wilson, who's a famous Temagami and Canadian canoeist, because the fight is actually back on again because while the time has gone by, they are back up there logging again, and they're back up
yeah,
there
Mm,
attacking old growth again, and we're not paying attention anymore. So actually,
yeah.
we're just about to try to start turning up the heat on people being aware that the last remaining beautiful, pristine sections of Temagami are under threat once again. In this day and age, once again, they're under threat. So yeah,
right.
it's not over.
Yeah, who would
I
think
think
20?
I might still have my Save Temagami T-shirt.
Mm.
Yeah, I
I
remember
think,
that
yeah,
well.
yep. I think we all got them when we were at camp there too. So
Yeah.
growing up, so Mimico, what was Mimico like for you as a kid? What were the ages kind of that you were there? And then what was like that neighborhood like for you? What was life like
Miserable,
as a Mimico kid?
miserable.
Miserable.
Yeah, I mean, it was a
Next question.
boring. Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
boring white bread suburban Western Toronto neighborhood. It was. I mean, so funnily enough, this was a music uh, podcast, a music interview. The music parts weren't, but life itself was boring. There was just nothing. There was the nothingness of the early '70s suburbia. That already
Mm,
conjures pictures in a lot of people's
Yeah.
minds.
Yep.
There was still the vestiges of that we had a lot of drugs and we had gangs and violence. Fights at Mimico High School after school were a pretty regular thing. You got to fight, if not once a week, once every couple of weeks, there was going to be a fight after school that we'd all go watch. And this fight might involve bricks or a baseball bat or something. So drugs everywhere. I mean, in the late 60s, I think around 69, Mimico was listed as the top drug school in all of Canada, something like that.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'm misquoting, but so it was a kind of a rough neighborhood to grow up in, but not in the sense of rough like the ghetto or rough like the projects. Not that kind of rough. A stranger, softer white bread version of that, but just the same, you were careful, where you walked if you weren't tough. The other thing, the kiss of death was it was the late 70s. So if you were a boy in the late 70s and you were a teenager and you weren't a good hockey player, it was a kiss of death.
Yeah.
Now,
mm.
I wasn't a good hockey player. I actually became pretty good in my 20s, a little bit too late. But so yeah, I mean, it was not the place of dreams, I'll tell you that, and so I mean, obviously I'm bringing my personal life into it too, which was also not the place of dreams. But no, there was nothing. I don't really have a lot good to say about that. Now, what do I have that's good to say? My some of my buddies, my close-knit buddies, my little we weren't a gang by any stretch, because we were just normal teenage boys. I mean, my wife was younger than me. We've talked about I got to watch Dazed and Confused with her sometime because I feel like the movie Dazed and Confused is basically my life.
All
You
right.
know,
All right. All right.
right? So that was Mimico, and it was I don't know musically.
Nope.
Well. No, Mimico's got nothing to do with the musical side of it. The
No,
era,
I was gonna say.
the era, the era has
Yeah.
everything to do with the musical side of it. That was pretty. That
Yeah.
was pretty sweet. Yeah,
Do you
that was Mimico. It was
do you think that feeling and that aura of you as the child is a big part of what bursts kind of your love of that Temagami getting away, calm, peaceful thing is because of where you came from. You learned to
no,
maybe enjoy that more.
no, no. I can do the juxtaposition and realize what an escape it was. But I think that's probably more by chance because my passion and my love for the wilderness is this thing that I can't and have never been able to escape. I had it when I was a little kid. Anything
Mhm.
nature, natural history fascinated me. So then when I was old enough to watch TV, it became Jacques Cousteau and Wild
Mm,
Kingdom, Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom and Tarzan movies. So no, my desire, I mean, Temagami came along later and what a joy it was, but my desire was so deep, to be in touch with nature, that
It,
I've never been able to escape that.
it
That's
was
just,
an
it was
innate
there.
ability
Yeah,
for you.
and so
Yeah.
music didn't, or sorry, Mimico didn't foster that at all,
It was already
but
there. It was already there.
yeah, it was already there. So the field in behind the Dominion grocery store, which is now the main repair yards for CN, but back then it was just a big field, was a great place to go because there were praying mantises you could look at and monarch butterfly caterpillars, and that to me was
And nature.
always there, and
Yeah.
Mimico has nothing to do with
Hmm.
it.
And then they put up a prison. But anyways.
No, the prison was there before I was
Yeah, no, the
yeah,
Mimico jail was there forever. Yeah,
a long time.
but interesting. Well, so now you're in Huntsville, obviously a far cry from Mimico, and you had a place in Oregon. Do you still have that?
That's where I am right now. I'm in Oregon.
Oh, that's
All
right you are.
right.
That's why
Okay,
I'm
well there you
blurry-eyed.
go.
It's morning for me, not for you guys, but I'm drinking
Yeah.
coffee because yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah, we appreciate that. And what's that like? I guess that's is that your happy place?
In the aspect that I'm with my wife, so
Oh, there
yes.
you go. Okay.
Right
Well, there you
My
go.
answer.
Good answer.
yeah, my happy place will always be wherever my wife is, but she is here in Oregon. Her profession is here in Oregon.
Okay.
So I split my life between Southern Oregon, which is actually great because that leaves me only a hop, skip, and a jump away from my musical connections down in San Francisco and Los Angeles. So,
Right, right.
little name dropping, Mike Klink's down in LA, so I'll go down
Yep.
and work with him, or Slash or Bruce Coburn in San Fran. Um,
We're getting
but
you
I'm
nowhere.
also up in Huntsville. I'm still a Canadian, and I'm always going to be Canadian. I'm not
Hmm.
emigrating to the United States. I'm not getting my green card. I'm not doing anything like that. I'm splitting my time between the two countries, and paying very close attention to the dates because you have to do this very properly.
Yeah.
Uh, but I am doing that, and so Caroline and I just sort of jumping back and forth between the countries.
Cool. So when
Very
when
cool.
you're up in Huntsville, you adopted kind of that off the grid approach for the 2006 documentary. Um, is that still kind of what it's like when you're up there, or is it a little more relaxed now?
First of all, I lost that place in the divorce,
Okay.
so that's
I didn't
gone.
mean to bring
Uh,
up a
Oh, I
sore
don't
note.
care. I've said it many times. That's a reality. That off the grid place that I put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into. Yeah, that had to go in the divorce. But no, I've got a nice spot on a landlocked lake. Actually, I live on a lake that has a no motorboats restriction, which is fantastic because all we have are canoes and kayaks on the lake,
Yeah.
and you can literally jump in the water and drink. It's that clean, and that's in Muskoka. So yeah, so I've got a place up there, and I do all my recording up there as well.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, my cottage was on Took Lake, so right beside Lake of Bakes in Huntsville. So yeah, very, very small, about a kilometer, maybe a kilometer and a half. Um, I'm not sure if it could do motorboats or not, to be honest. I mean, I was a kid, but we always went out on the little tin boat anyway, so
Mhm.
just to go fishing. But yeah, no, I'm a Huntsville guy as well. So yeah, definitely spent most of my time there too growing up.
Mhm.
So love that
Mhm.
place. Yep.
So, what are some of your favorite on the grid things to do?
Play
If
music,
that makes sense.
record
Play
music.
music, huh? Yeah, that's what I figured
Uh,
the answer was.
that's definitely on the grid. That's definitely, and really, I mean, even the reason for this podcast at this time now is music is taking over that central place in my life in a very big way. So that is certainly that it,
Yeah.
and then time with my personal life with my wife and my children. Um, you know, but that also that involves getting back out in nature. There's a lot of hiking and backpacking and canoe tripping, which is off the grid, obviously, so it doesn't answer your question. But on the grid, yeah, that's really it now, is just my musical life. I'm still always, I'll put out another book every 2 to 3 years. I'll write a new book. I wrote a children's book, put it out with Anik Press, called Wild Outside, won 4 national awards with it. So
Fantastic.
I still write. And then yeah, that's really it, really, for the most part. I've always been able to. There's this wonderful and kind of laughing sort of mythology of Survivorman. You know, if I come and visit you, it's like, well, Les is going to want to sleep out in the backyard. It's like, no, I want the king size bed in
No,
the
I want
best
the yeah,
room.
yeah. I
That's
like my
me.
creature comforts.
You
Thank
know,
you.
exactly. I've always been able to handle the juxtaposition. I could go from a dugout canoe with the Waorani tribe in the middle of the Amazon jungle to rocking out on stage in Vegas in the same day and not blink an eye.
Right,
It's
Mm.
right.
easy for me. I like the juxtaposition of both worlds, which frustrates people who only love Survivorman. They just want me to be that myth of Survivorman. Like this guy just like he goes out and builds shelters every day. Um, and and then fascinates, sometimes annoyingly so, the musical side where, you know, I might go and, you know, I get to go and play with Alice Cooper, but then Alice wants to talk about Survivorman for half. I don't want to talk about Survivorman. So it's kind of, you know, I get it, but not everybody else kind of gets it, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah, that
totally.
makes sense. You get typecast, so to speak, in life, right?
Yeah, oh
Yeah,
yeah,
I guess so, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
very much
So,
so.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, you being on our show for us is almost, you know, you're like almost the embodiment of what Renostate Rocks really is, because you know, Corey and I are both real estate agents, and kind of the idea of this podcast was originally bred from, you know, hanging up the myths and the fear mongers of people with real estate from hearsay and conjecture and not actual facts, and that's kind of how it started. But of course, because Corey and I are huge, you know, rock fans and you know, musician fans, and I was a musician for a long time, and we kind of brought that in, and then bringing in, you know, those Canadian iconic people to talk about kind of both a little bit of the growing up, a little bit of the house, a little bit of the music has kind of been everything. So it's yeah, we actually love it. So
Yeah.
having you on is like that perfect person to have that split. So yeah, it's great. And so I mean, speaking of, so you've recorded many songs with many people. Um, and just, you know, this isn't more of a question, it's more of a statement. How fucking awesome was it to play with Slash and Billy Gibbons?
Oh, it was a mind blow.
Like,
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it was a wonderful opportunity. He has now released it, and my
yeah,
name's listed in the Rolling Stone magazine article, so now it's okay for me to even talk about it. I had to wait for a long. I sat on this for a year because, you know, it was last year, obviously, that we went in and recorded.
hmm
Um, uh, I'd already played with Slash at a charity concert quite a few years back. He'd already recorded on my album, Mother Earth, on the song One Giant Farm, which we released May 10th, coming up.
yep,
The in the new vinyl version and the video. So there was already a connection there. I was already able to speak to Slash and talk to him, you know, as an acquaintance. And then while he was recording the blues album, I owe a great debt of gratitude to Mike Klink because Mike, you know, really kind of said, you know, why don't you get Les to play on this song? I think he's got the right sound and the right approach and the right feel for this particular track. Stephen Tyler plays on another song, the one that
yes,
they released,
Mhm.
which is I wish I would have liked to have done that solo, but that was by chance. And so Steve Tyler and I play in a very similar fashion. So I was like, when I heard, I was like, oh man, very jealous. I was like, I could have blown that. But Steve, of course, did a phenomenal job. Chris Robinson from the Black Crowes, I believe, blows a bit of impromptu harp on another track. So Mike did this, and then eventually I said, okay. And I went down uh but funnily enough, I was in the studio and ready to record. And I said, oh, I forgot to ask, who's singing on this track anyway? And then Mike goes, oh, Billy Gibbons is. And then he presses play, and I've got
yeah,
Billy Gibbons in my headset singing Hoochie Coochie Man, and I'm doing that harp part, you know, which is the which I think would have been the James Cotton heart part. And so, yeah, it was a thrill. It was definitely a thrill. And, you know, I'm potentially, hopefully, possibly, maybe going to be able to do a bit more with Slash coming up. So fingers crossed on that. But he's really a gentleman, and he's a pure artist, and he's the kind of guy I could have hung out with in Mimico. We're different eras, but he's just a normal. He's a guy you can sit and chat with, and you drop all the pretenses and forget that he's an iconic rock star, which I do anyway when I'm around individuals such as him or Alice Cooper or even Bruce Cockburn. You got to
right,
drop all that, you know. I
yep,
just
Yeah.
wrote a little article on this actually recently for I forget what it's called now, but it's an online, I think it's Canadian music magazine, about, you know, when you get to this really references your question. when you find yourself face to face with a hero, you know, I mean, I played with Alice Cooper, for God's sake, on Schools Out. You know, you have to gather yourself, and there's 2 points to it. At one moment, you have to, as I did, stand backstage at a Journey concert going, I'm about to jump up on stage with Neil Schon. We're going to play Love and Touch and Squeeze, and we're going to have a blues duel on stage in front of 12,000 plus people. Oh my God. You have to allow that moment for a moment and go, this is a dream come true.
Yeah.
And then you have to go, okay, screw it. I'm a pro. And then you have to be a pro. You have to be a professional. So it doesn't matter that Billy Gibbons is in my headphones. It doesn't matter that behind that glass is Mike Clink and Slash. It doesn't matter. In that moment, my harmonica is in my hands. Now play the damn harp, play it well, play it like a pro, play it like you deserve to be here. And when you're up on stage in a live situation, perform like you deserve to be there.
Yeah.
And I could go on and on about this. You know, I found myself at a kitchen table with Bruce Cockburn when he was writing the music for my film Laloche, saying to Bruce Cockburn, a childhood hero of mine, no, that doesn't work. So you have to gather the steam in yourself to turn to Bruce Cockburn and say, no, that doesn't work, Bruce. Can you try something else? It's freaking Bruce Cockburn.
Yeah.
You know, and that's really the thing. And I always try to, you know, that is my moral of that story is it's okay to idolize. It's okay to have that moment like, holy shit, I'm about to knock on the door of Bruce Cockburn's private residence and meet the man himself, you know? And then you have to shake that off and go, but I'm here to do a job. And anyway, it's my film. You know, that's the thing.
Right.
You can't be a fan. You can be a fan and you always are a fan, but you have to compartmentalize it.
Yeah. And only the true pros can do that, right?
Well,
I assume some people get very starstruck.
You know, Corey, you're not really wrong there. I've seen people not be able to shelve that, not to be able to stop being a fan. And you just want to go, dude, would you just relax, just let it go, breathe, you know, just stop.
Yeah.
But there's the odd person that can't stop being a fan, and it gets awkward.
Yeah. Well, I met Gene Simmons one time, and he threatened to punch me in the dick. But that's another story.
That just sounds like Jane did that anyway.
That's just who he is. He's like, no, you're not taking the picture. Okay, whatever.
Okay.
But it wasn't in a professional setting. I just saw him on the street. But anyways, I digress. You mentioned Mike a few times. Can you tell us about your relationship with Mike Clink and how that came to be?
Well, it really started with Noel Golden. Noel Golden, Canadian boy, an amazing engineer himself, worked on the Guns N' Roses stuff, Chantal Kraviacek, Edwin, amazing recording engineer. I went to school with him in Mimico. He's a Mimico boy. So, and in fact, as a matter of fact, Noel Golden was the first guy to ever read my lyrics. And he said, these are really good. We should write songs. And it never happened. Then later we found ourselves face to face, like, oh my God, you're taking this college course at Fanshawe in London, Ontario? Yeah, so am I. Oh, no, he was in for engineering. I was in producing at Fanshawe. And then so our lives kept brushing up against each other.
Yeah.
High school, college, maybe a little meeting later on in later life. And then when I knew he was doing well in the music industry. So I said, listen, you know, and now I'm Survivorman. I took him my music. So we started working on my Mother Earth album together. And then eventually he said, you know, I think we need to take this to Mike Clink. I think Mike Clink can take this over the top where it needs to go because, damn it, this is really good, you know.
Amazing.
And so he introduced the music to Mike Clink first. And Mike is music first. So if he didn't like the music, the meeting was never going to happen.
And that was it. Yeah.
But he liked the music first. Then he saw that this was really about celebrating nature. Then he saw that really, though, regardless of the fact that I had that TV celebrity thing going on, that this was also about helping nature through the creation of art, through the creation of music, which I'm still on. And I'm working on, you know, my live stuff, like getting Earth Concert going again. So then I met Mike and we began to work together. And then Mike and I just struck up a really good friendship that now has nothing to do with music. I mean, if we never did another song together, I'd still want to go hang with him. But I think that you were talking that in relation to your earlier question that I went at length to answer. I've seen people be starstruck around Mike Clink. I mean, the man, you know, worked with Metallica on their seminal album, you know, and
a great up and coming band for those that haven't heard him, you know.
What's that?
Metallica is a great up and coming band. For
Yeah,
those
yeah,
that
yeah.
haven't heard of them, so yeah.
So Mike, but I was not a Guns N' Roses fan. I mean, when Guns N' Roses hit, I was a canoe head. I could care less about. At that point,
Mm.
see, to go back a bit, with rock being dead in the 80s, so to speak, I became this outdoor adventure guy. I gave up on music. I didn't touch my guitar for 10 years. So when people would say to me, "Have you heard this new band, Guns N' Roses?" I'd say no, and I don't want to. Don't care because it's going to be crap. Oh, what about this? And then later, oh, this new band, Pearl Jam. No, don't want to hear. Don't care. They're going to be crap. I turned my ears away from anything because I thought that rock was dead. I
Right,
thought
right.
that everything was going to be just another version of Cyndi Lauper, and I did not care. So when I met Mike, I had not been a Guns N' Roses fan. I mean, later, I don't even know if I own Appetite for Destruction, to be honest with you. I only bought Pearl Jam, the first album, Pearl Jam 10 or whatever they called it,
10, yeah.
like about 4 years ago. So I was not of that era, and so I'm glad I've come to really appreciate Nirvana, Soundgarden, Pearl Jam, Guns N' Roses later in life. But so that what that meant was that when I met Mike, I didn't care. I didn't care who Mike
Mm.
Klink was. And this is again another vote for when you're meeting your heroes or when you're meeting someone who is
A
as the
bigger
stature of
celebrity,
Mike
yeah.
Klink. I mean, the man yesterday is being inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame. That just happened
Mm.
yesterday.
Yeah.
So I didn't have that insecurity. So and we're getting deeper into this, but my belief in myself, the only sort of big name out there that I have seen speak the way I feel, and I go, yes, that guy is exactly the same. His story, though vastly different, has the same feel to my story, was Bruce Lee. And it was a
Mm.
never-ending belief in myself. So,
Mhm.
well, now I'm working with Mike Klink. Same thing as what would later happen with Bruce Coburn. Hey, this is wonderful. This is awesome. But what does that mean to this is my song.
Right,
How is it,
right.
is he really working my material the way I think it should be? And I always have that weird confidence enough to, say, I don't know. I want to go in this direction now. Mike Klink is such a professional and such a great producer that he knows how to manipulate me very well. Sure, Les, we could try that.
I'm gonna
So he was
massage
really,
you into
yeah,
it.
he was
Yeah.
really good at working with my um with I guess if he didn't agree, he still knew how. He doesn't play me in any sense, but he knew how to correct my direction without insulting me, without
Good.
belittling me, without condescending to me. And I've been in the room with producers and other musicians that think that me being involved musically is nothing more than a television celebrity's vanity project, which gets my ire up like no end.
Oh, I
Mike
can
has
imagine.
never
Mhm.
done that with me. He's always given me the due respect that he
Right.
believes is there for the music that I create and the potential that I might have as a performing or as a writer, as an artist.
Well, yeah,
Um,
I was gonna say he's
that
treated
that's
you
the
like
difference.
an artist first and then a professional second. So
Well, as an artist first, that's where it should stop. That's where that sentence should stop. As an artist first, and that's it.
Mhm.
And that's so yeah. So that made me then respect him.
yeah,
It's like, okay, you are giving me my due. Thank you. Okay, now let's get
Yeah.
some good.
yeah. That's
And that's what
fantastic.
makes him special, right?
Yeah, he's a special man. Mike is a gentleman,
Yeah.
and we get each other's sense of humor. Same thing with Noel Golden. God, these guys are so funny. We have that stupid, wry, dry sense of humor.
That's
I
it's only
understand
the
that.
best way to have. Yeah, we have
Yeah,
that,
like
Yeah.
we'll be
and
when we were
a
looking at
little
my
darker in.
studio, when we were looking at my studio in Canada, I'm there with Mike and Noel, and I was talking about the new wall I was going to install, and Noel was like, "Well, I think you want to line it up over here," and he's doing his feet on the floor. Line it up over here, and then Mike goes, "Well, no, that could work, but I think you should probably," and he sort of moves, and he goes, "I think you should line it up over here," and he literally moved about an inch to the left,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So it's that kind of silly, sense of humor
Yeah.
yeah.
that makes us get along.
I don't know that inch and a half. That's gonna make all the difference. That's going to, I swear. The sound's
Yeah.
gonna bounce just slightly over. So you're notorious for avoiding kind of writing when you are out, doing a show like Survivorman. And it's for someone who's so passionate about music, what is it about kind of that avoidance that brings that, to you to the top of the head to purposefully not write a song?
Yeah, what you mean is writing out in nature for the
Writing out
inspirations.
nature, yes.
Yeah. Which I'm actually changing now. I'm going to pick up a new leaf and change that completely and start taking my guitar out into nature. But the reason why I haven't done it for all these years is that when I'm in nature, really it's so supreme. It's so impactful that I just never wanted anything to interrupt that. I just want nature to do what nature does, which it does. It does whether you want it to or not. And I
Right.
want it to infect my soul. I want it to put all of its positive energy into me. And I don't want a guitar or harmonica to get in the way of that. I just want to be an open vessel when I'm out in nature. Then when I get home, I'll sit on the couch with a glass of wine and a candle burning, and I'll let that's been percolating through me. Now
Right.
a song will come out.
Yeah. I get it.
However,
Totally.
I'm going to change that up. I'm going to start going out there with my dulcimer or dobro or guitar and just see how that changes, because now I'm focusing and doing so much writing. I'm going to do it that way. And reg regardless of this musical stylings, so for example, the Mother Earth album is really a rock album and a progressive rock album in some places. I always feel like one of the greatest artists that ever filtered wilderness down into beautiful song crafting, using the wilderness and nature as a perfect metaphor, or speaking of wilderness and nature literally, was John Denver. Nobody wrote
Ah,
songs about nature like John Denver.
yep.
So everybody can laugh if they want because of his positivity and milky friendliness and all of that, but the man was a freaking musical genius.
Mhm.
And if you sit back, I mean, just watch the Wildlife concert, he was about 50 years old when he performed it. It's an unbelievable concert of talent. And he's got, Elvis's guitar player is there playing guitar. I mean, it's these monster musicians. But so
Yeah.
I'm always, I heard a saying once by Jack Whitey. He was referencing Son House, and I'm a big fan of Son House, the bluesman. And he said, I'm just trying to get to that. And for me, there's a couple of places that I'm just trying to get, I'm doing air quotes here, just trying to get to.
Yeah.
And one of them would be, I'm just trying to get to the lyrical potency connected to nature of John Denver. And musically, I'm just trying to get, when I'm doing my roots acoustic stuff, I'm just trying to get to Maggie May. If I can get to
Ah,
Maggie May,
yep.
I think that's the pinnacle of roots acoustic, roots folk rock is Maggie May. It's just, gosh, it's a
Interesting.
perfect song. So you're always trying to get somewhere as the artist. And I imagine almost every artist would, I mean, whether it would be Slash or Elvis or um, Robert Plant or Lady Gaga, every artist, not that I put myself in their realm, but every artist I think is trying to get to where their heroes got to. And
Yeah.
those are two
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to get to. I'd like to that lyrical quality of John Denver and that musical quality of a song like Maggie May.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that makes
Amazing.
sense. You got to have something to shoot for, right?
Hmm.
For sure. For sure.
Corey,
Sheldon?
lead her out.
Yeah, this is it.
This is it. This is the end. This has been
Yeah.
great.
I
Thank
mean,
you so much for
listen,
being
yeah,
with us here, Les, all the way from Oregon. Um,
Well,
it-
actually, you just pronounced it like a true Canadian. It's actually pronounced Oregon.
Oregon.
Oh yeah, they'll correct you down
what
here.
do you
They
say?
know you're from out
Oregon.
of state if you say Oregon. Yeah, there's no E on the end, right?
Oregon.
So it's Oregon, like your
Like an organ.
like an
Yeah,
organ in your body. Well,
like
give
an
me a
organ.
Oh,
chance
there you
to
go.
tell you what's coming up then.
Well, that's what
Yeah,
we
Yeah.
still got
That's
a
our
couple
next
ones, and
question.
that's the one. So, what have you
Okay.
got
Yeah.
going on? Plug it. Uh,
Well, I'm
spell things out. We want everybody listening to buy and support everything that Les is about to say.
I'm so
Yeah.
glad you asked. It's I mean, always a lot. you know, and I'll tell you what, I'm going to keep this to music only rather than satisfying the Survivorman fans. They can always, if they follow me on you know, YouTube and places like that, they'll know what's coming up when it comes to my wilderness stuff and filmmaking. But musically speaking, a lot. I'm developing and about to announce a concert endeavor called that will be filmed for television that will probably feature some special guests, which will highlight my Mother Earth album. The Mother Earth album is now re-released on vinyl.
Oh, amazing.
And
Big comeback to vinyl.
it's beautiful and it sounds amazing. It features Slash and Steve Vai and Mindy Bear and produced by Mike Klink. Then I've got two new albums on the heels of that, two fully new albums coming out. One is produced by Colin Linden. Bruce Coburn performs a solo on it, and some heavy hitters in Nashville. So that is my next foray back into roots acoustic rock that I love so much, and blues. And then the next album after that is produced by Mike Klink, and we'll have some featured special guests on it. And I am launching. I pulled all of my musical videos offline about 3 years ago on purpose. Everything's gone. Didn't matter how many views they had. Everything's off. Now, every 6 weeks, I'm relaunching them. So today, and as a matter of fact, in 2 minutes, from the moment that you guys and I are speaking during this interview,
What timing?
The second single of from Mother Earth, well, single, the second release because of the video and the new vinyl mastering and mix. Ancient's Call comes
Right.
out. 6 weeks from now, I'll release One Giant Farm. 6 weeks from that, I release When It's Gone. And then the full album, I sort of dole it out. So every 6 weeks, basically, for the next 3 years, I have another new track that I will be releasing in video and through Spotify. So there you go.
Amazing.
Very cool. Wow.
Today being March 22nd for those listening at home and unable to see. So the 2-minute mark would be 1 o'clock p.m.
Eastern time.
Eastern Standard Time.
Eastern time. Yeah.
Been an absolute pleasure, man. Thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, thanks
us.
so much, Les.
This has been great. So something I've been looking forward to
guys.
for a long time. You're very welcome. And
All
for
the
those
best.
at home, rock on and keep on going.
All right.
So
We'll see you guys. See you next time.
thanks, bud.
Take care, my man. All the best.
Bye.